Welcome to the Solo Promoter Podcast, the show that is one guy talking about tabletop pro wrestling and fighting games, including Filsinger Games, Legends of Wrestling, Champions of the Galaxy, Go Fight Pal, The Squared Circle, and much more. Welcome to the show. I am that one guy. My name is Grant Pachoco. This is episode number 98. Before we get rolling, I want to send out a special thank you to all the Golden Circle channel members. These are the fine folks who support the show. They also get to see a video of the recording of these podcast episodes, and they get a bunch of bonus videos, and they get to see videos as soon as they're edited and all that kind of good stuff. If you would like to become a Golden Circle channel member, head on over to solopromoter.com and click on the button that says join. Many thanks to the Golden Circle channel members. These podcasts would not happen without you. Well, I want to get started. We got a big episode today, but I want to get started with a couple updates, what's been going on with me. I have recently played a bunch of episodes of Shane's Challenge. That is my Champions of the Galaxy project that I have been working on, where Shane is on Kronos, and he is challenging the very best wrestlers from every game edition of Champions of the Galaxy. Of course, he doesn't see it as a game edition. He sees it as a year. But it has been a lot of fun. I think I played out 10 matches in a row, and it was a roller coaster of a ride. Now, if you are a Golden Circle channel member, that's right, I'm plugging it again, you already have all these episodes. They are already posted on YouTube for you to see. If you are not a Golden Circle channel member, you will get one of these episodes a week for the next foreseeable 10 weeks. I guess the first one is already out, but check it out. It's a lot of fun, and it's a really interesting project, and we're going to be talking about projects later on here in the podcast. Not this podcast, but future episodes. I also played a new Myth Worlds card. That is up to available for channel members now. It won't be out until the future, but I'm really loving Myth World, and I am trying to play a bunch of Myth World games before this Myth World bonus pack lands in our mailboxes, hopefully in well-protected bubble mailers. Not bubble mailers, but well-protected mailers. And so I'm super excited about this. It's like injected new life into Myth Worlds. Not that it was boring or anything like that, but there's something about adding a few new cards to your stack that make things really, really interesting. So I'm very excited for that. Hey, I got all my Black Friday stuff from Go Fight Pal. If you have not seen that video, I ordered on a Thursday. By Tuesday, I was opening the items that I had ordered the Thursday before. That is craziness. That is amazing. And Go Fight Pal, they do it, and they do it right. So you can check that out at solopromoter.com. I also got caught up getting these new cards, got me working on organizing all my Go Fight Pal cards, and catching up on entering my Go Fight Pal results into Obsidian. I'm currently using Obsidian to track my Go Fight Pal results. I have moved away from using Obsidian to track my Champions of the Galaxy and Legends of Wrestling results, but I find that it's the best tool I found that works well for Go Fight Pal, because currently in Go Fight Pal, I think I'm running 6 different sectors: Deep South, Mid-Atlantis, Central Space, the Duos Island, Glitter, and there's one other one, Mid-Atlantis. Did I say that one already? Anyway, that's what I'm doing. And it's good at breaking up all those different things. I will say I'm looking for something better. I don't think a spreadsheet is it. I started on a spreadsheet. I could go back to the spreadsheet, but I don't think a spreadsheet is it. So if you're out there and you have a different way that you track your things that's different from Obsidian or different from the Excel spreadsheet, let me know, because I would love to know about it. I am loving getting back to Myth Worlds. I'm loving the Myth World previews we have seen. The art is amazing. We've seen Havoc. We've seen Tharkus. This past week, we got Killer Queen and Exo King. I love all the new art. The art looks amazing. And also, Tom revealed on the message boards what the 3 Promoter Prime cards will be. One of them will be Tai Chi, who is so overdue for an update. I'm super excited to have a new Tai Chi card to see just if it tweaks her at all. She's been a mainstay since she arrived in my women's Fed, or the women's portion of my Fed, and she's been champion. She has had tough battles, and she started getting disqualified a lot. And so I worked in this storyline where she would get angry at her opponent for cheating and go a little hardcore. And that's why she kept getting disqualified all the time. So I'm excited to see if this new card can continue that storyline, or maybe she mellows out. I don't know. We shall see. So I'm excited for that. The second card is a Myth Worlds jobber or enhancement talent. Now, I'm super excited for this. Always love a new enhancement talent type card. I have put up a poll on the Filsinger fans Discord and over on the main Filsinger Games message boards. Where do you think this new jobber / enhancement talent is going to be from? Because Tom specifically said Myth Worlds jobber. So that leads me to believe that it's somebody from Myth Worlds. It's not like, oh, he suddenly brings somebody from where Pinnacle doesn't bring somebody from where he froze time to wherever Myth Worlds is. So will it be from Atlantia? Will it be from Olympus? Will it be from Valhalla? Will it be from the command post at the Arc of Eternity? Or will it be from somewhere new? I think it would be cool if Tom introduces a new area of Myth Worlds by bringing in this jobber, like an advanced scout, although he's not very good. So super excited for that. Tom also said that I am recording this on December 11th. He says that he sees things mailing at the end of next week. So will things get here before Christmas in their upgraded cardboard sleeves that protect the cards? I don't know. We shall see. But fingers crossed, and hoping for a lot of wishes and a lot of hopes. There's also been Legends teasers. Butch Reed, Tony Atlas, and Bad Company. Looks to be shaping up to be a really great set. And I am super excited to get those cards, put them in my Fed. We don't even know what's going on with Promoter Prime either. I am still kind of hoping for a Cousin Luke color update just to give Hillbilly Jim a tag team partner. But we shall see what happens in the weeks ahead. Super, super excited. Before we get to the main topic, I just want to thank everybody who commented on the last episode. Really appreciate all your thoughts for your wish lists and what happens with Filsinger Games in 2025. It's time to cross our fingers and see which things come true and which ones do not. But let's talk about the main topic of the show. You know, in episode 95, we put the spotlight on promoter Corey Olson, and I grilled him on the nuts and bolts of how he runs his Fed. That was so much fun. I decided to do it again. This time I talked to a promoter who is playing a Fed featuring not Champions of the Galaxy, Legends of Wrestling, or Indies personalities. His roster consists entirely of creations of his own and some of his friends. He also plays the Fed out live during his weekly Twitch streams. Here is my interview with Next Dimension Wrestling's Broc Atkinson. Well, I'm super excited to welcome to the Solo Promoter Podcast the one, the only Broc Atkinson. Broc, welcome to the show.
What's going on, Grant? How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited you agreed to do this. We're going to delve deeply into the way you play wrestling, because it's really unique and it's a lot of fun. But I would love to get started with asking, how did you get into sort of Filsinger Games and the whole Filsinger Games universe?
I actually bought it from my dad as a Father's Day gift back in 1997, I believe. And that was in June, obviously, for Father's Day. And we got hooked right away. Like, we were at Galacticon that year, so we'd been playing a little less than a month, and we were hook, line, and sinker. I remember, like, when I first saw it, I'm like, this is lame. Like, there's just like flipping through the cards and stuff and seeing like the aliens and things like that. It took me one match. I rolled one match and I was hooked, and I've been hooked for life since then. So,
do you remember who was in that first match?
I believe I played as Kraken, and my dad played as Star Warrior, if I'm not mistaken. And he whooped me, but
Classic matchup. Now, did you you started with that original set? Did you just start buying sets and adding to your mythology?
Yeah, I went all in at my first Galacticon. Um, they used to do deals whenever you would buy in bulk, and I had saved up, I had a couple paper routes, babysat some neighborhood kids and stuff like that. So that first Galacticon we went to, we ended up coming back with everything that was published up until that date.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's what Storm the Ring and Brawl. That was the old offer, right?
Yep, I believe that's what it was.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Now, we're going to talk about your Next Dimension Wrestling because I mean, at least that's what I see you playing a lot on your Twitch channel.
Hmm.
But do you still play Champions of the Galaxy? Do you still have a current Fed that's running?
I don't. I fell so far behind. I still buy everything with the hopes of finding time to run that Fed as well. But we just brought our third kid into the house this past year, so that all went out the window. But I hope like maybe one day I stream 3 days a week. I'm hoping that maybe one of those days can become a GWF day.
Oh, that would be awesome. I think a lot of people would love that. I always picture it as when I retire, this will be something
Right.
in the, because I do play current, but I have a huge gap where I just jump to 21, 25. And those are
Hmm.
always my, when I retire, if Tom retires and there's no new game sets, I will go back and play those. You know.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine anybody coming in further back or more recently than us trying to get caught up with everything because I was 10 years behind and I feel like I'll never get caught up. And these, if anybody starts today, what are they like 30, almost 40 years behind?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about Next Dimension Wrestling. Where did this where was the genesis of your own Fed here?
This is kind of a funny story. I always tried introducing the game to our gaming group. I used to manage a comic book store called New Dimension Comics, so there's kind of a correlation there. Didn't want to get into kind of legal trouble with a similar name, but it started as my way of trying to get my gaming group from the store into playing the game. So I started making bootleg characters of a lot of the regulars, and they were eating it up. So a lot of those early Next Dimension Wrestling cards are based on friends from that gaming group that played at the store. So it's a lot of inside jokes that people don't get or probably just think are weird or don't
Yeah.
even understand it's a joke. But it started there and it just kind of blew up from there. We would run an annual tournament every April and October, and then COVID happened in 2020. And everyone's like, "Hey, you still doing that Next Dimension Wrestling thing?" I'm like, "Well, not really. Everything's kind of on hold." So I'm like, "Wait, I'll get on Twitch." So that's where that whole thing started. But Next Dimension Wrestling was I'll get into the first Next Dimension Wrestling character was Eagle Richards, and he spawned. We had a customer who would we have pull boxes, and he would abandon his pull box almost every 6 months. So we finally told him you can't open one anymore. So he opened one when me and the other manager weren't working as Ram Xavier. So we're like, what if we come up with luchadors, but they're all bird themed NFL teams, and we'll use Avengers last name, or Avengers Fantastic Four, I think was the start. So we made a character as a luchador, Eagle Richards. So it was so then there's Falcon Parker, Seahawk McCoy, and Raven Stark. So it's all kind of that was the first character there. That's my friend Ken came up with that. So just
And
making
from yeah, from the beginning, were you like keeping track of your history or was it just for fun? It's like, hey, we're just gonna have a tournament and see what happens.
we mixed it with GWF at first, and I'll never forget this. The first big match, I picked Plethador, and I gave the other guy Chaos Supreme. Like he's gonna smoke me, no question about it. In 3 moves, he had ruled count out. I'm like, you rigged it so I would lose. I'm like, no, I swear it was the other way around. So then we scheduled the rematch, and a very similar thing happened. So Chaos Supreme was 2-0 against Plethador in the start of this Fed. So it got a little wonky from there, but it was mainly just tournaments after that. And then I had my own history, but then I restarted it whenever the streaming started. So
Excellent. Well, and I know the answer to this because I've seen the streams, but I would ask anyway. Do you play online or do you play on your tabletop with card and dice?
I play on my tabletop with card and dice, which is not a wise decision, but that's just how I feel like I play too slow when I play online. When I have the dice in hand, I just feel like I can move at a faster pace.
Yeah, and what I love about your streaming setup, which if people want to check you out on Twitch, and we'll say this at the end, and there'll be a link in the show notes, but it's twitch.tv/Brockster Builds. You have this really great layout that you put for the cards, so it's like the cards are sort of featured. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
When you're playing the game. So how long did it sort of take to develop sort of your layout and your Twitch streaming setup?
Not too long. My first stream, I had just a big piece of construction paper, and I had the cards on that, and it looked okay, but the dice are bouncing everywhere. And then this guy, he ran GWF promoter at the time, came up with these play mats. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're pretty sweet if you want to check them out. So I bought one of those and it's worked. I got the 4 card slot one because
Yeah.
I just don't try and do much more than that on stream with cards because it's just because I got my lights and cameras and everything, so I'm just knocking stuff everywhere. But once I got the play mat, it was a game changer because dice were flying everywhere. I'd have a pile of like 30 dice, and I'd still end up having to midway through round them up off the floor. But and then the lighting, I still don't feel like I figured out the lighting for the cards because I don't know what it is. Just that I have a very small space, and then I'm a large person, so I kind of hover over all my lighting. But yeah, I tried. I originally I streamed for a year and a half just using a laptop, and that was rough because the OBS software pretty much took all my computer's resources, so I couldn't do a whole lot. Like adding lights would if I blocked my pixelate and all that. But I'd say the setup maybe 4 or 5 streams until I got it to how I like it. Still not there. I've thought about just having images of the cards on screen because the camera, it's just the lights bother me. I don't think it bothers anybody else but me, but it's just one of those things. But
Yeah,
yeah.
as someone who streams several times a week, I know exactly what you're talking. Like you're never going to be satisfied with it,
Hmm.
ever. Um, and you could also like have just the greatest stream and everything works perfectly, and then the next week none of it works. It's
Yeah.
really pain in the butt.
Right. And I always like someone always says when something goes wrong, like everybody's afraid to point it out. Please, I'm sure Grant will back me up on this. If something's not working, let us know. We'd be happy to fix it or try and troubleshoot because I'd rather know and pause for a couple seconds and get things worked out than record a whole stream where you didn't hear a word I said.
Yeah. Yeah, I will always switch to a new screen, and the software I use has the mics muted or unmuted depending on the scene. So I will
That's a good
switch
move.
so I will switch to the scene and the mic is muted and I'm still talking and going on, and then someone in the
Yeah.
chat will be like, "Hey, we can't hear you." So when you're playing your Fed, when you're playing Next Dimension Wrestling, how do you track your history? Do you use like card number? Do you use dates? How do you sort of catalog your events?
I actually play in real time. So I have a Tuesday show, a Friday show, and then a Sunday show. And I just follow the calendar. I'm in the year 2136 right now, or 2135. I'm about to start 2136. So I try and line up the dates as they're happening now, as close as I can to the dates there. And then I just number every event based on the date. So that's where I keep track of, when things happen and things like that.
And do you find that you can actually play that much? Like you play 3 times a week?
The burnout gets real about this time of year.
Yeah.
Um, I'm really, um, yeah, it was a big because I played the first year in 4 months. I'm like, that was too quick. So I wanted to try and stretch it out. So then I'm like, well, what if I just play it in real time? And then it started getting stale. And so the answer to that was just to introduce new characters. So now I'm oversaturated with characters. So I think I'm going to reboot coming up in the new year with maybe I'm going to work a story where it has to split at some point.
Yeah.
So that could just build my own interest back into it because roll sometimes, when you're playing that often, you start feeling like I'm just rolling matches to roll matches at this point because I haven't used this guy in a while, so let's throw him out there. So
Can you tell? I mean, so you play 3 times a week. Do you have like a set number of matches you want to hit per year, or is it you're just playing in real time and I'm going to do these 3 events each week?
I try and do every match every the three times a week, but it's been a little challenging now. Like I said, with the third child,
Yeah.
there's been a few times I've more than a few times I've had this. Well, not going to happen tonight. Sorry, everybody. But I do try and make those days up. So it ends up being almost 100 and well over 150 cards a year when all said and done.
Wow.
So yeah, it gets to be a little much. So I'm doing eight matches per card.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to ask how many matches per card. Yeah.
Except for Sunday. Sunday's just one match. Sunday's one match, unless it's the last Sunday of the month, and that's our super card. So there's even more matches in that one.
How many matches are on that one?
Usually around 10, but they're all
10.
specialty matches, so it can run long.
Yeah. Yeah. And how far out are you planning matches for your cards? Like, is it just week by week or?
I play into the super card,
Okay.
and nothing works the way I want it to. I had totally set it up for. I've had a character named Shockwave, who's Sam Looptak created, who's in NDW, and he's had an iron grip on the title. And I set him up because he's a tough card, but he's beatable. So I put him in a last man standing match with another card that had two finishers and an add one move. So I'm like, oh, this guy will throw tokens on him like you won't believe. So right out of the gate, Elostrios is that character. Threw two tokens on Shockwave, and then Shockwave went 12 straight on him. So he still has the title. So
Yeah. Well, are there any sort of booking or organizational things that you did when you started playing that you still do now, like the way you schedule things or plan out your matches?
I started off with a point system, and my roster size ballooned to the point where it was impossible to keep track. But I'd like to get back to that. It was a lot of weird point values. Like I would give an extra point if you use your finisher more than once because that's what the crowd wants, stuff like that, just to help with rankings. But now it's just win losses and who's hot at the time.
Awesome. And well, speaking of roster size, and I know you mentioned that your roster is maybe a little bigger than what you would want right now. What is your ideal? What do you think is a good roster size?
I feel around 40. 40
Yeah.
is a good roster size. I think that's manageable because it gives you, 8 to 10 tag teams and some singles guys.
Do you keep tag teams strictly as tag teams, or will they break up and wrestle singles, or how do you approach that?
I try to keep them as tag teams, and if they do wrestle singles, I usually have their tag partner accompany them to the ring just so people remember, hey, these guys are a team. And 95% of the time, I forget the ringside ally rule on out of the ring, but it's there. And something else I do different with the Tuesday show is the more entertainment based one. It has all the goofy type characters that I've made over the years, and that one has more leniency. Like every disqualification rule attempt is twice. You have to fail twice to be disqualified. And then on Friday, it's more traditional. So you get one mulligan, we call it. So on your first DQ roll, if you roll DQ, this is a Kevin Butcher idea. If you roll DQ and you get disqualified, you get to re-roll that one time on the first attempt because it's like the referee caught you, warned you. If you do it again, you're going to be disqualified. So let's try and change it up a little bit between the two shows just to make them feel different, other than just the cast of characters that are on there.
Yeah. Well, when you have I mean, you are creating cards all the time, and it's really amazing. I'll have a link to your site where people can go check out all the cards that you've created. But when you have a new set come out with like new wrestlers, how long do you wait to bring someone into your Fed, or do they all just get to go in right away?
I'm getting better at gradually introducing characters. This is all a stack of misprints right here. Like I don't know if you can see that, but there's I have 10 characters on deck for the new year, and my goal is to spread them out through the entire year. Probably not going to happen, but
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard when you get something new and you're like, "Oh, I want to use this, you know.
yes.
No, be patient, be patient.
It's a challenge for me, and I think that's why I'm in the position I am where these characters, because it's not just me making characters, it's a channel reward where people can create characters and things like that, and a bunch of the guys that we gamed with at the store still come up with character ideas and stuff. So it's not all me. The weird stuff is mostly me, but
Yeah.
um,
Well, does someone like if you have a headliner coming in, like somebody who's got just a stacked card and he's purposely made to go for your top title, does he or she get instantly get a title shot, or do they have to work their way up?
I make them work their way up somehow.
Yeah.
That Illustrious character that I mentioned, I always do a big release for Halloween, and he was the Halloween guy last year. So we did like a Royal Rumble type event, and it was totally random. It was great. He entered at number two and ended up going the distance. So like, oh, this guy's got it. It's his year, and then he gets destroyed in the title match. So that was his rise. But now it's like, what do I do with him now? Like
Yeah.
once you get that debut, and then you fail in the payoff, like that's what's rough about this game with me sometimes. As much as you try and plan for something to happen, it's still a shoot. And I still make it so that what the dice say happens. I know that's a controversial topic sometimes, but that's always how I've played is the dice decide. So,
Yeah, that's in my tabletop legends fed, uh Andre the Giant, I mean, he had so many wins. I was like, "Oh, I'm just going to put him against, I think it was the Iron Sheik." And I was like, "The Iron Sheik will probably get disqualified or whatever." Well, Andre won, right? So now Andre's got the title, and I just immediately thought, like, how am I ever going to get the title off of him?
hmm
Because it's Andre the Giant. And
right.
literally, I think it was his first or second defense against Randy Macho Man Savage. Savage beat him.
Yeah.
So, like, but I had all this scenarios in my head of like,
hmm
oh, if he's champ for a year, I'm going to start putting those the retirement
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
modifiers on him to start aging him a little bit, and
hmm
I didn't need to. He lost
Yeah.
the belt right away.
He
So
blew it.
yeah, so I totally know how that is. When do you decide when or how do you decide that it's time for a wrestler to take a break and maybe rotate out?
When I get bored with them. A
Perfect.
lot. Since I play in front of a group of people, and I have about 10 consistent people, another 10 to 20 that are in and out, they'll let you know if they're tired of seeing somebody. At least I feel like there's a couple characters that are designed not to like, which is great
Yeah.
whenever people, rag on them. But other times it's like the guy that I really like, and like, oh, this guy again? I'm like, oh, okay.
He's gonna go visit another territory.
Yeah,
He'll
he's
be
gonna he's gonna go away a while. And
yeah.
that's something I want to do in the new year too, is like if you aren't producing for a while, then I might make it so there's only 40 roster spots, and if you can't cut it, then you go away for a while, then you have to fight to come back in. Something like that. Just because it is ridiculous how how many cards has spun out of this thing. I've been doing
Well,
NDW has been around for 10 plus years now. I just realized that this week.
yeah, well, I was looking through some cards before we went on here of because I have so many of your cards from over the years, and I was like, wow, 2016, like this one's from 2016, and I don't have
hmm
my bootlegs as organized as I should, but I will get on that. But yeah, well, and the other thing I will say is sort of a little spoiler alert is Chad Olson and I are working on something that might help people with their roster size and booking and knowing if somebody should
Nice.
stay and go. So that's all I'm going to say
Nice.
about that. We're still tweaking it.
Looking
Um,
forward to that.
yeah, how do you track your results? Do you pen and paper, a notebook, Excel spreadsheet?
I have a Google Doc. It's like 800 pages long. I don't do it live because I feel like it takes up too much time for me to jot it down, but I'll go back and watch the video. Some and sometimes I have to double check because it's late at night when I sign off. I'm like, oh, did he really win? And then I have to pull up the tape. Oh yeah, he did. Okay. I didn't make that up. So it's a very long Google Doc. If I ever lose that, I've lost my history. So
Back up your Google Docs,
yes,
everybody.
definitely.
And I think you kind of answered this a little bit, but do you track win-loss records?
I do.
Yeah, and is that in the same Google Doc?
That's in a Google Sheet.
Google Sheet. Okay, yeah, yeah. Do you have any way that you track your feuds? Like who is feuding with who at the time?
I kind of just let that happen naturally. Like I said, the people remind me of stuff that I forget sometimes. And this has backfired on me multiple times. I have rolled 12 on the feud table, I think, more than anybody else on planet Earth. So I lose half my roster, about once every 2 months. But whenever doubles are ruled, whatever the match is, I leave it up to the Twitch community. They vote on whether or not I should roll on the feud table. And that has backfired because every single time, I think it's a joke now. They vote to roll on the feud table. These guys just met. There's no beef here. Roll it. There's beef now.
Yeah, I
So,
love it.
yeah.
And it's going to be a 12, and there's going to be a
Hmm.
suspension. Um, so when you're it's like you said you go back and watch the video and that's where you track what what the results were. What do you write down for results? Like what notes do you take for your results?
I write down who won, what move they used, and then a star rating because that's also something we do on Twitch where the viewers rate the matches 0 through 5 stars. So I write that down as well.
And do you find that the that's I may steal that for my YouTube channel feds.
Go for it.
Um, but does everybody kind of vote for that rating about the same, or do you have to take an average, or how do you do it?
I do the average. For the most part, they kind of line up. They all kind of agree, unless there's a channel point wager on the line, and if they lose the channel points, they always say 1 star no matter what. So, but we've only had one 5-star match in the history of all the matches I've rolled. It was B.A. Jerk versus Lambert in the finals of the Gary Atkinson Memorial Tournament of 2133.
Wow,
I,
that's awesome.
I remember because there's only one. So
Yeah. Do you post your results anywhere, or is it strictly you're just doing them for Twitch?
I do the Twitch streams, and then a week later I throw them up on YouTube.
Okay.
So they're on the same channel as Mike and I's character spotlight.
Yeah, Bruxter Comics, which we'll have a link to in the show notes as well. But you don't. What I'm saying is like you don't like type and post on the message boards or anything like that about your Fed
No,
games.
I really feel like I should. I might get some more eyes on it if I did that, which would be really easy to do because I put it all in a Google Doc. Copy and paste. Come on, bro.
Yeah, I do feel though like I kind of get in the thing where it's like if you've played out the match and you've written things out right in the results, you can kind of be like, okay, I'm done.
I
I can
agree.
move on
Yeah.
to the next. I can move on to the next thing.
Right, right.
So I could see not posting, and actually I've toyed with like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this Fed for me. It's not for or these matches are for me. It's not for posting online or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like you can relate to this too, where you kind of feel obligated sometimes to keep it going,
Yeah.
which, it's good and bad in that. Because that's honestly, it was my wife's idea to start streaming. 'Cause she's like, you never play that game anymore. I'm like, oh, I don't know. She's like, well, maybe. But then it's like, oh, I could play it on Twitch because nobody's doing anything. We're all just trapped inside because it was during COVID. So that's why I started doing it. So I had that, people were looking forward to seeing me play, and then I got looked forward to playing as well. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody at that point.
Did you find that by doing it on Twitch? Because I stream on Twitch for other projects, but
Hmm.
I look at Twitch a lot and I look and see what people are doing. There's nobody else really playing Filsinger games out there anyway, anywhere, on Twitch anyway. Do
Hmm.
you find that you've introduced people to the game by playing it via Twitch?
I know of two for sure, two people for sure. Um, but yeah, I haven't heard from them in a while. I wonder if they're still playing. But I do know of two people that reached out like, "What was that game you were playing?" And I told them, I sent them the link, and then they said that they had bought starter sets. So that was cool. That made me feel good.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to promote this game.
Yeah, yeah, me too. The other thing I love, and you've mentioned it a couple times here, is how you've integrated the things that are native to Twitch, like channel member points or like the channel points or whatever into your Fed. And do you have anything other than, I mean, you talked about how you do the ratings and then sometimes you wager on the ratings. Are there and letting the audience vote on whether or not you roll in the few table? Are there other things
Hmm.
like that you bring into your Fed?
This is actually something I there's a game I'm partnered with called Stream Raiders, where it's a browser game where you add soldiers to a battlefield, and then every 30 minutes, like I run the battle, and then we fight computer controlled characters. There, once you reach a certain level with them, you can create your own skins to reskin their characters. So all the skins that I've unlocked have been for NDW characters, because it all comes back to that, because that's the whole reason I started streaming. But I did a skinathon recently where like they put your skins on sale and all that stuff, and then people buy them and you get points to unlock more skins. It's a big money making racket for the company that runs the game. But but anyway, so just to keep and I streamed for 24 hours during this, which is it's actually it went by pretty quick, and I thought it went pretty well. I was up right afterwards. But there's a new game called Lurk Bait where it's a fishing game. And for a determined amount of channel points, I could set that. You can cast a line and you can catch fish, but you can also add like custom things that you can catch. So I put in there a character called Lucky Duck, and that was the only way you could get this card is if you caught it in the lurk bait game. And I thought, maybe, a handful of people will get into this. I had to mute the game on my Skinathon because it got backed up by 45 minutes. There were that many people trying to cast lines in this game to get this lucky duck card. So of course, me being me, this is a big announcement. There's now going to be 4 new ducks that debut in the new year, and I could actually show those to you if you want a little spoiler.
Sure.
They're damaged or misprints. Of course, I had to make it over the top and ridiculous. I'm missing one of my ducks.
You
I don't
don't
have
have your
all my.
ducks in a row.
Oh, I see you beat me to it. So it's not really a duck, but it's a platypus.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I have a robotic duck.
Very Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, definitely inspired by that. A dead duck.
Nice.
And then I don't know where this came from. A Power Ranger duck. So
That's awesome.
those will be catchable on stream here in the new year. So then that's 300 channel points to cast the line. So they have to work for it a little bit.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's so great how you've incorporated it in because even when I'm streaming on my other end, it's sometimes I'm just because I know a lot of streamers will do like, oh, if I spend this number of points, then you have to take a drink or you have to put on a
Yeah.
onesie or you have to, but it's fun to figure out how to work it into your wrestling federation, like
Hmm.
that's really awesome.
Thank you. It's like the ducks are really fun. My coworker Corey, who unfortunately for him, he has to sit next to me for 8 hours a day. So I'm always talking about all these different things I want to do. And he's like, Brock, I think 5 ducks are enough. So like, you're right. You're right.
Well, I have a few more questions to ask about your playing, but I wanted to ask about you have put out all of these cards and you're very prolific with putting out these cards. Can you talk about maybe the artists you work with and maybe how long does it take to have an idea for like those extra ducks to get them on cards and ready to give to people?
The ducks happen very fast. I have to give a shout out to my artist. His name is Chris Adamants. My day job, I work as tech support at a public school district, and he is the elementary school art teacher. So his Instagram is Adamants Art. Um, he's been working with me since the beginning. He actually did the first couple cards we did. I did a lot with Warner too, and Warner's fantastic. But the weirder the idea, the quicker the drawing returns to me. So,
Well,
so
that's
I
because it's
found,
so specific, right?
right, like I want
Yeah.
a Power Ranger, but it has a duck bill and duck feet, and it's a girl, and
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, if you're just like, well, I want a wrestler and he's really strong and he has, black. You could have, that you could picture
Right.
15 different things between people. But if you're like, it's a Power Ranger that looks like a duck,
Right.
that's instant.
Yeah, he's been killing it. He we over the summer we don't get too much done because we don't see each other as much, but he's a great friend of mine too. But this school year he's been killing it. Yeah, Chris Adamants, I can't put him over enough. He's funny because he does these things for me, and then like he'll get recognized for it, and then he'll feel bad. Like, but I did that for you. He did a drawing that hasn't even made it out yet. He posted it on his Instagram, and a t-shirt company reached out to him. Hey, can we put that on a t-shirt? He calls me. He's like, I told him no. I'm like, you call him back right now. You're putting that on a t-shirt. He's like, I did it for you. I said, I'll sign something, whatever you need me to do. It's like, you're getting that. You're getting that on a t-shirt. It's like, okay. Just want to make sure it was cool. So, but yeah, he's great. I don't think he realizes how great he is sometimes, but he's been killing it for me. I've never been this far ahead on stuff that I want to put out, and I owe it all to him, honestly, because he's knocking them out.
Well, it's great when you find somebody who's like, yeah, this will be fun to do. I'm going to
Hmm.
do this.
Absolutely.
And I'll put a link to his Instagram as well in the show notes, so
Awesome.
people
Thank you. I
can
appreciate that.
check it out. Getting back to playing really quick, I would love to know. I mean, I love this because you're very much like me, where you say like the dice decide, whatever the dice decide, that's it. But do you have any sort of house rules or things that you play with when you're playing?
Not really, other than that disqualification thing we talked about. One house rule I've been kicking around trying to introduce, and I just have to remember to do it, is on initiative, say both wrestlers roll a 6 and they roll again. I want to make it so whoever wins that roll starts on level 2 instead, just to speed things up a little bit. So that's something I've always kicked around, and I've also thought maybe doubles on an initiative roll will start you at a higher level, but I haven't implemented that yet. But that's always something I've wanted to do. I'm trying to think other house rules. I'm pretty much by the book when it comes to the rules. Yeah, I think that's really it. This qualification thing that we had talked about.
Do you have any like weird traditions like me, where I always like the champion is always the red die, the champion is always the red, and the challenger is always blue?
Well,
Anything like that?
here's something that nobody has noticed yet, but I have all these tiny six-sided dice. I try and match the color of the costume as much as I can with the dice. Some weird thing I started doing recently, and I don't think anyone's pointed it out yet. So yeah, just weird things like that. And nothing too crazy. But yeah, it's just pretty boring when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't remember my own house rules if I were to try and do it.
Yeah.
It's hard on you've done it, like trying to keep track of like monitor the chat and then you come back like, wait, who was on offense? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I do that a lot too when I'm recording, just if something distracts me and I'm like, "Oh, wait." And then the thing I always do all the time is I forget the finish. And
uh-huh.
so like I will when I'm recording something that I'm going to put up on the YouTube channel later, I'll roll out the match, I'll get the results, and then I'll shut up because I'll know when I'm editing where there's silence, that's where I'm writing this down. And so I can just trim it out later. And I'll write
Hmm.
down, and then instantly I'll be like, wait, what was the finishing move? I've already forgotten what this is.
My trick is, I have the top-down camera on the two cards. I flip over the winner, so when I'm scrubbing through, I know that's where the match ended. So
Got
then
it.
I
Okay.
can grab the results there.
Yeah. I watch other YouTubers who play Phil Singer games, and I'm thinking of Dave Little and Heartland Championship Wrestling, and
Hmm.
he brings in the face to the mat um book. I forget the name of it. I'm blanking on it, but it's like an angle book, and it has all these different and like
Yeah,
if a certain thing happens, he'll roll on that chart to help him. And like I have experimented with it. I'm gonna try and do a little bit more in the new year, but with bringing Mythic in, where Mythic will help me figure out why somebody did
that's a
something.
good idea.
Is
Yeah.
there anything that you use like that? That's something from out of the, I mean, you're so great at bringing Twitch into, into your Fed, but are there other tools like that from other things that you bring in to help?
No, not really. I've looked at that face to the mat thing. Jeff Manning actually turned me on to that, and I'm like, that would be a great tool for storytelling for sure. And I really think that's what my streaming fed's lacking right now because it just feels like, it gets to that point where you're just rolling matches to have matches. That's why I'm really looking forward to the new year when I have this kind of a soft reboot planned.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've looked
Excellent.
at that and it looks really fun. He said the only thing you're gonna have to do is make up a bunch of fake celebrities because there's a lot of celebrity involvement in that one, that
Yeah.
book in particular.
Yeah, I always think for my personal feds, for my tabletop feds, which I sometimes do put up on the YouTube channel, I don't bring in things like that. Like I just keep it purely, this
Pure.
is
Yep.
Phil Singer games. This
Hmm.
is, I only play by the rules. Um, Now I'll use like different feud. I don't like the current feud chart. I don't like the results on the current feud
Yeah,
chart.
because everyone's kind of a jerk
Yeah.
on either side. It feels
So
like.
so I use one of the older ones. So that's the way maybe I'm not playing
Hmm.
by the book necessarily, but I think for like these online feds for like Hollywood Elite Wrestling, which is just completely 100% on my YouTube channel. The
Yeah,
entire
yeah.
history is there. To bring in things, to try and bring in things like Mythic or whatever is sort of a fun little experiment to try.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. I would love to find something that would I could quickly reference on Twitch because it does like especially like I keep going back to this roster size and it is daunting to try and make a story that makes sense involving that many characters.
Yeah.
So I think it's time to to either split it up or trim it down. So either the story need a story for both of those things. So
Well, maybe when Chad and I get into our beta testing phase, we could send you this thing and you can
right
check
on.
it out. Well, Brock, it has been so great talking to you and get a little bit of insight into your Fed. Before we wrap up, I do want to talk about how I want to be able to plug. How often do you play on Twitch, and when can people sign in at twitch.tv/Brockster Builds to see you playing?
I'm usually on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, so that'd be 12 a.m. your time. Um, yeah, so I try and stick to that schedule. I usually start with the wrestling and then we'll go into something else.
No, we go the other way. It would only be 6 for me because you're on at
All
9.
right, I sent you into the future. I'm sorry.
Yes. I was
What
doing the
a,
math. I was like, wait, no, no, no.
I
Okay. So
totally I totally messed that up. So thank you for correcting me because people be getting on like, where is he?
And do you post your schedule on Twitch, like on that schedule page, so that people
Yeah,
can
yeah, I
see?
try and
Yeah,
keep up with
okay.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
And
it's
then, yeah, go ahead.
Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday.
Tuesday, Friday, Sunday. Excellent. And you also play other things on there as well. It's not always like
Hmm.
people can come hang out and check out what you're doing because you play other games as well on there.
Hmm.
Um, You also have Brock and Mike's character spotlight on YouTube.
Yes.
And for anyone who hasn't seen that, can you give a little what the elevator pitch is for that
So,
if they want to tune in?
so Mike and I, even though we've been playing for 30 plus years, are not current. So we are talking and we go set by set, starting from the beginning, talking about two characters each week from the classics era, I guess. Well, I guess that's not the classics era anymore, but the original sets. And we're up to 2105. We just started that a couple weeks ago. So just take a deep dive. But the problem is, I did my quick playthrough then, and I don't remember anything. And we're caught up to where Mike is now. So it's a lot of, oh, let's just read the handbook.
Yeah. And
So
that's Mike Fortune for
yes,
people
yes.
who are asking. And well, Brock, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with us, and
Anytime.
super excited to have you on the show. And I love checking out your show when I'm streaming on Twitch, or like checking out Twitch and you're on. And definitely it's a lot of fun. And
I appreciate you.
yeah, if people want to find a unique way to do this, or maybe you're interested in streaming stuff as well, Brock is a shining example of how to do that. So
Yeah, I'd be
go
happy
check
to
it out.
help anybody who'd be interested in starting that up because I more I say this all the time, the more eyes we can get on this game, the better it is for everybody because I think it's a great game that not a lot of people know about.
100%, 100% agree.
I appreciate you having me. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Many thanks to Broc Atkinson for being on the show. For links to Broc's channels, as well as some of the other things we discussed, check out the show notes for this episode number 98, over at solopromoter.com. Also, I wanted to say that during the interview, Broc showed off some art for some upcoming cards he is releasing. To avoid putting those spoilers out in public, that video is going to be available exclusively to Golden Circle channel members. Well, if you have a topic you'd like the show to cover, leave it in the comments. Make sure to subscribe or follow wherever you're listening to this. Check out my personal feds at GWF Promoter and LOWpromoter.com. The theme song is American Guy by Throwing Toasters, used by permission and available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere you get your music. This podcast is not affiliated in any way with any gaming company or their subsidiaries. It's purely for entertainment purposes only. This episode is copyright 2024 Saturday Morning Media, Grant Pachoco, executive producer, all rights reserved. www.saturdaymorningmedia.com.